Hello there. Last week I talked about moving on after losing a loved one through death, part 1, dedicating the same to my late sister, Margaret Susan Gitau, who passed on last year on 26th of April 2021, and to all those friends and relatives that we have had very close loss of family members. I also dedicate part 1 and part 2 of moving on after losing a loved one to you as well. And for all of you that follow me and watch me, and maybe this might remind you of a loss you haven't probably had closure, a loss maybe that is still disturbing you, a loss that you've not been able to get over, I'm still dedicating this to you. And for all my fellow counselors, especially from Kiambu County Counseling and Psychological Association Fraternity, these are part of the productions that we said we shall be doing and sharing and encouraging one another and empowering therapists to help their clients. And for the Center of Mindful Self-Compassion, I don't have enough words to thank you, because part 2, I'm going to talk about using mindful self-compassion to help someone move on after losing a loved one. Maybe I could recap for those that have not heard about mindful self-compassion before. It is a self-compassion practice which can be applied by anyone across the cultural diversity, because it uses 3 main components or principles. One is common humanity. We all go through loss. We have all lost in one way or the other. And even if we have not lost a loved one, probably one day, because it's common humanity, you might lose someone, probably someone very close to you, very dear to you. But majority have lost their loved ones through death. And so you might find somebody in India crying and still grieving and mourning over the loss of a loved one. It can happen to someone in Australia, America, Europe, and of course in Africa, where I am. And so it is common humanity to lose people through death. People are born, people live, and people die. And in part 1, I discussed about death, and death that can be traumatic, death that can make somebody grieve for a long, long time, death that can be so traumatic that in very deep denial, numbing, and shock, somebody may delay the grieving of the same even over 6 months, which we said can be pathological, can be complicated grief as well. So today, when I talk about mindful self-compassion and talking about common humanity, it is to encourage you just to know there's a brother or a sister somewhere in this planet Earth that is going through what you're going through or has gone through what you have gone through. And that gives us a sense of belonging. It gives us a sense of connection, a sense of thinking and feeling and empathizing for one another. Self-compassion also uses kindness. And when I talk about kindness, I just say, just like the founders of mindful self-compassion, Christy Neff and Chris Gamma. If you Google them, you will actually find them with MSc. They talk about you thinking about a friend who is suffering, a friend who is going through a difficult moment. What would you tell them? How would you treat them? And most people say, I'll treat them with kindness. I'll treat them with a lot of nurturing, a lot of comfort. And the big question is, if you would treat a friend with all that kindness, with all that love, with all that comfort, is it possible for you to give the same to yourself? And so it poses like a challenge, but it's a good challenge because most of the time we are waiting for other people to come and comfort us. We are waiting for other people to come and give us that compassion, forgetting the one person that feels exactly the pain as you feel it is you. How about turning around and saying, Susan, you know the pain. You know how it feels. You are in the suffering deepest pit. How about picking yourself up, holding yourself in those comforting arms and saying, it shall be well. It will be fine. Susan, you will get better. Susan, you'll be encouraged. But rarely do we do that. And so if we can learn doing that, you never know. You might get into the recovery process. You might recover faster. You might heal faster. You might get to closure faster because you are not running away. When we talk about compassion itself, it simply means that you are noticing you are going through suffering. You are noticing you are missing your loved one. You are not denying. You are actually paying attention to that feeling, to that loss, to that pain. And that means if you want to apply compassion, you must come to thinking, how do I alleviate that suffering? So I see it, I notice it, I acknowledge it, I validate how I'm feeling, but I take an extra step to see how I can alleviate without forcing. Self-compassion is a practice, and self-compassion can be a lifestyle. And those who have mastered self-compassion, they know even when it's very, very difficult, even when it's very, very trying, they can always think of treating themselves with a lot of kindness. They will treat themselves with that love that can comfort them. And so when I look at you, if you're watching me, or if you know someone who has lost a loved one, and it's difficult for them to move on, mindful self-compassion is a practice that can go a long, long way in helping those that are still in pain after losing their loved ones recover in a healthy way, heal in a healthy way, and celebrate the times they actually dealt or lived with their loved ones. I am thinking about self-compassion in a situation whereby you keep yearning to have the same relationship that you had with your loved one. Maybe it's your mother. You remember times you had laughter. Your father, times he was there mentoring you, coaching you, your sister, your brother, your friend, whoever it may be, but they were close to you. And so sometimes there's a temptation to avoid thinking about them. You avoid totally to maybe review, re-experience moments you had with them. You're blocking. And that is what we call avoidance, denial. It's like you're resisting to face that. I want to encourage you with mindful self-compassion. You can invite the situation that has presented itself. Don't take it away. And the next step is to ask yourself, when I think about them, when I miss them, how does that present in my body? which part of my body is touched by that memory. Is it my head? Is it my chest? Which part of my body do I feel the tension? And by doing that, you are discovering where, we call it body scanning, where is the discomfort? And so you become an explorer. You are not running away. You're trying to find out how all this is making you feel, including even scanning how your eyes are behaving, how your arms are feeling, your legs, your thighs, your stomach, your chest. It's very beautiful body scanning. And you can even go an extra mile and ask, are you able to identify the feeling, the emotion that accompany that body tension? Because whether it is grief, whether it's trauma, whether it's stress, it takes a position for you to feel tense and uncomfortable in your own body. And so locating where that is very, very important. And that is best done by mindfulness. And moments of staying in peace and quiet are very helpful. And even you can be helped with by soft balls like this one. Like if I just this brings me concentration on this soft ball. And it might help me center my mind if I'm focusing on which part of my body feels most tense. I'm likely to get it. If I'm thinking about the emotion that is accompanying that, am I feeling sad? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling angry? Am I afraid? Am I hurt? You can easily pick the emotion. And different emotions will come in with different reasons or rationale or explanations. Like if I'm angry, I can even go deeper and be more specific. Am I angry at myself? Am I angry at somebody in the family? Am I angry at my helper? Am I angry at God? Am I angry at the medics? Probably that were they are taking care of my late loved one. Who are you angry at? If he's afraid, what are you afraid of? Is it fear of something you know or fear of the unknown? And if you can continue with that dialogue, it's very, very important, because it's like you're getting into a discussion with your own self, a discussion with what is happening within you. It's like you're having an internal dialogue that is very comforting, however painful it is. And so you get to know that, I can tolerate what is painful, what is fearful. I can tolerate. And when I do that, I'm realizing I have some inner resource. And I can say it's not good, I don't like it, but I can stand it. You are growing emotionally, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. You're not running away. You're not running away. And so when you tolerate, you start thinking it is okay to not be okay. And you even start embracing discomfort that can come your way, pain that can come your way, memories that could be disturbing and painful that can come your way when you think about your loved one that left you. And you can find yourself just allowing You are now allowing. You have become a collaborator. You started by resisting. You explored how this was making you feel, where it was taking position in your body. You tolerated it, realizing, oh, I'm strong. Oh, I can face it. And now you're just allowing it. Allowing it. You can imagine allowing pain. Sometimes to just be pain in you. Allowing a memory that otherwise you did not want to face before. Just to be. Looking at the pictures of your loved ones that you wouldn't have had the courage to look at. You're now allowing. We allow. And when we allow, it's like we have allowed ourselves to be crucified, but in the inside, there is something that is telling you, I am stronger than I was before. I am stronger than I was before. And so this pain no longer scares me. This memory no longer scares me. This very many reminders of my loved one, may it be the photos, may it be their clothes, may it be a video you took, may it be a photo album. You know, when I talk about a photo album, I think about the album like I had for my sister, you know, when I'm thinking about maybe the photos right now, if I can remember how everything was, right? How things were. I am enjoying the fact that I can go through the photos. I can recall every moment of pain, memories that otherwise I would not have wanted to face, because I'm allowing, and I'm getting stronger. I'm getting better, even to support another one. I am becoming that wounded healer, whether I'm a therapist or not. And the minute I know now I have mastered allowing, I am no longer afraid of allowing. What I do, I start befriending those negative emotions. I start befriending the pain that comes. Sometimes it knocks when I least expect. But in the inside, I am growing stronger and stronger. That suffering that I did not run away from, suffering that I could not escape, has now come. I have opened my hand. I have opened my hands. I have opened my heart. And now I can befriend that emotion. I can befriend that memory. It sounds almost like a fantasy, but I'm one therapist that likes to say, has it worked for me? Have I tried it on me? And if it has worked for me, then somebody else somewhere, it might work for them. And so sometimes I say, just try it. And when it gets difficult, I like to tell people those stages I have mentioned: resistance, denial, shock, exploring, body scanning, tolerating what you could not tolerate before, allowing, giving way, and befriending, becoming a friend to negative emotions, to pain, negative memories, painful memories or any suffering that you could be going through or have gone through because you lost your loved one. You can always step out in any of those stages. You can always hold. You can always say, I don't have to. And find out how even that exploration and that discovery comes out. Because you shouldn't force self-compassion. You should not force mindful self-compassion practice. It is a practice of being scientifically proven, experientially proven. I have used mindful self-compassion. And I can tell you, I have lost very many other people before. But I guess the ones I have lost, including my sister that I lived with for many, many years, that I miss a lot anyway, knowing that I can't see her again. And even for you as you're watching me, if you have reached a level, you can talk about your loved ones, the things you did together, what you shared together, without fearing that you might antagonize yourself, you might get tense. That means healing has taken place in a very, very functional way. If you also find your family members, you can talk about your loved ones that left you, and you can share memories. Sometimes good, sometimes disturbing memories, because they're also human, right? Without feeling judged, without running away. It's powerful. It's beautiful. And you can try and be very, very creative. I know we Africans, we have different ways of remembering our loved ones. And I say it, every culture, every community is different from another. And sometimes I have found even families have their own culture. And so it's good to embrace all that, integrate all that, and find out how do we move on. Not faster so that we may forget them, but faster because we need to adjust and move on. Your time is not yet. You're still breathing. You're still working. There are bills to pay. There are children to take care of. And you may not do all those things in a very good way if your mind is still in turmoil, if your mind is still suffering. I know there are other ways that people try to get healing, moving on after the loss of their loved ones. I know therapists that are watching me, we have tried techniques like empty chair technique. If you had unfinished business with your loved one, we talk about art therapy, and this works very well for children. We have talked about the sand tree, especially for children. It also works very well for adults, and especially where maybe death or the loss was very traumatic. And so when you have probably even psychodrama, role play has worked for some. Right is another one. Bibliotherapy, like you can read books on loss and grief. You can read books on mindful self-compassion. You can read books on depression. You can read books on trauma. And some, like for Christians, where I belong, you can have those empowering Bible verses, or you can have Bible study that really encourages you on a day-to-day basis. And for the African, sometimes it's the family. If you have parents, whether they are senior, they're alive, and they're there with you, or even grandparents, we really admire and embrace their wisdom, and sometimes even asking them questions about things that you don't understand here and there. It's beautiful. It's still a process of healing. Sometimes, like for anniversaries, having a memorial service, having a memorial maybe event, and especially where we want our family tree to actually be alive and educative and telling, because we all need to talk about our history. But we cannot talk about our history if we cannot remember those that we have lost, in a way that maybe information about them is organized. We can talk about them, but we cannot talk about them in a very good way, informative way, especially to those who are not there when they passed on, if we don't face it. And so probably for my African families, it's so beautiful when you go to your grandmother and your grandfather, if they are still alive, and they're telling you stories about the great grandfathers and great grandmothers, and they're telling you about your roots, and they're telling you about, probably even for children that are now adults and lost their parents, probably soon after they were born or even when they were children. It feels nice, but they cannot tell you if they are still hurting, they're still suffering. They never got closure. It was probably traumatic for them. They are the parents or they're the relatives that don't want to talk about the lost or the late, the dead, the buried loved one. And that is why, for me, I say mindful self-compassion applied every day, every moment you have that memory. It will take you there step by step. And I could give just a very simple demonstration about my late sister Margaret. That I can go, oh Margaret, the month of April has come. And I can see day by day, a day like today, we were with you in my home and we were talking. We talked about many things. I can allow that to come back. And then when you were taken ill, what happened? When you got worse, what happened? And until you had your last prayer on 26th of April 2021. It was dark. I was lost. But then I remembered many things about you. I remembered how courageous you were, how you were a fighter, how you loved children, how you never wanted us to feel any pain. It's like you wanted to take all our pain, and you always had something to do for everybody. And as I do that, I can continuously probably talk about where I am at this particular moment. And I can even scan inside of me. Where am I not feeling secure? Where am I not feeling comfortable in my body? And I can even tell you step by step where. But then I can end up saying, may I be peaceful. May I be comforted. May your soul rest in peace. May we remember you for all the good memories. May you also be peaceful wherever you are. May we be peaceful as a family. And so making wishes is also equally good. So kindly speak your mind out. Speak your heart out. And let's try to see how far we can also go. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Susan Gitau with Moving On After Losing Your Loved One, using mindful self-compassion. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. Dr. Susan Gitau, like and share to bless another person. Thank you and God bless. Thank you. I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Susan Gitau, where you will access mental health tips every week, every month, every year. Thank you.